Welcome back to Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelor Season 26, Episode 10, The Fantasy Suites. In this episode, the floodgates have opened. Everything that has been teased all season comes to fruition, possibly ending Clayton's journey to find love. Fantasy Suite Week is never easy, but this one was like drinking something sweet all episode and then at the last minute drinking something extremely sour. So let's dive in. To begin with, we see Clayton traveling from Los Angeles to his final destination of his journey, the capital of Iceland, Reykjavik. Iceland is a beautiful and breathtaking landscape to host the final weeks of Clayton's journey to find love, and Clayton knows how important this week is for him. All of his final 3 women have told him they love him, but he has yet to say those words to anyone. He admits that he is holding his feelings back, but no more. Clayton is ready to completely let go and dive deep into his relationships, hoping that one of them will ultimately be his fiancé. We see Gabby, Susie, and Rachel together, all anxiously awaiting news about how this pivotal week will unfold. Host Jesse Palmer comes in and greets the 3 women, welcoming them to the beautiful country of Iceland, and then explains the format of this week. Each woman will get a one-on-one date, and if they choose, they can have a private fantasy suite date with Clayton, where the cameras are off and they get to spend some uninterrupted time together. Well, let me just point out that, again, like recent previous seasons, they are sticking the top 3 women in the same room just to add more drama, which is already unnecessary, and they need to stop pretending this week is an episode of Sister Wives because plainly it's not. Alright, so the first fantasy suite date is going to be with pilot Rachel, and Rachel is over the moon about spending quality time with Clayton. She heads out to go get ready while Gabby and Susie are left pondering and stirring, and this is where we already get some uneasiness vibes coming from Susie. She is starting to question her own feelings with Clayton and is extremely anxious about Clayton sleeping with other women. But it should be noted that Susie has not brought this up to Clayton, and this ultimatum that Susie has will suffer in silence for most of this episode, as Susie's doubt is interwoven with every angle. Alright, with that said, let's move on to Rachel's fantasy suite with Clayton. Rachel is dressed in a comfy red sweater and extreme winter clothing. It's obviously very cold in Iceland. She runs to Clayton and they do the notebook jump kiss, and they take a moment to appreciate the gorgeous landscape together. Clayton then tells Rachel that they are going on a helicopter ride where they can't wait to reach new heights together, and they share some kisses as they enjoy the fun moment. Clayton admits that Rachel and him have the strongest physical connection, which isn't that surprising as all they seem to do is make out with each other. When the helicopter lands, they get ready to get deep, 400 feet deep, as they are going to go explore in an active volcano together. As the couple is descending, they are both excited and share some more kisses, and all the while Clayton admits that he is falling for Rachel. When they are both 400 feet down, they take a moment to have a conversation and both reflect on their hometowns. I should note that Rachel's voice is back and she shares that she is having no reservations about him. And then the show goes back to a conflicted Susie having doubts about Clayton's feelings for the final 3 women, and she is pondering her emotions as she is drinking red wine. Adele's song I Drink Wine should be played over all the footage of Susie being unsure and drinking wine, but more on Susie's state of mind later. Then we see Rachel and Clayton go to dinner, and Rachel admits in her confessional that she is unsure about Clayton's true feelings. And when they sit down, Rachel asks about his feelings, saying she can't read him, and she calls him out without saying, "Hey, you freaked me out by almost eliminating me last rose ceremony." And finally, Clayton tells Rachel that he wants to tell her something that has been weighing on him for a while, and then he proceeds to tell Rachel that he is falling in love with her. Rachel then immediately kisses him and she is so happy. Then she accepts his invitation to spend the night together, no cameras, no interruptions. But while Clayton and Rachel are spending the night together, we are again showed more footage that Susie is conflicted and upset about Clayton spending the night with another woman. And in the morning, Clayton and Rachel are spending the morning together, making out and making breakfast, both very happy together. And when Clayton leaves, Rachel calls out to him that she loves him over the balcony, and he yells back that he loves her too. And when Rachel returns, Gabby and Susie have to endure the notion that most likely Rachel and Clayton slept together, and Gabby is more open about the process, whereas Susie is struggling, as she says that she doesn't want her potential future husband sleeping with other women so close to a potential engagement, and all the stress is really weighing on her to the point of tears. Again, get ready to swallow that shot of something extremely sour at the end of this episode. The second fantasy suite date goes to ICU nurse Gabby. Gabby is very excited to spend the day with Clayton, and just like Rachel, she is wearing red. And when Clayton shows up, he shows up in a dune buggy, ready to take Gabby on a wild ride across the beaches of Iceland. While the two of them are enjoying the day riding around in a dune buggy, Clayton admits that his relationship with Gabby has gone slower than the others. And when they finally settle in, they head inside to reflect on how hometown dates went. Clayton tells Gabby that he thought her hometown date went very well and how he really likes her grandfather. And then Gabby tells Clayton that she understands the process of fantasy suites and she wants him to explore his options, and hopefully in the end he will pick her. And Clayton is grateful that she has opened up, and they end up kissing. Then we see Gabby and Clayton head to the nighttime portion of their date, and Gabby hopes that Clayton can open up with her. And it's pretty much deja vu. Clayton tells Gabby that he is falling in love with her, and Gabby is so happy. She kisses him and accepts the invitation to spend the night with him, away from cameras and to further their relationship. They head to an Icelandic yurt, which is very fancy and modern, and before the cameras turn off, we see Gabby and Clayton very excited to spend the night together. But then we are treated to more footage of Susie literally spiraling as she is walking down a set of spiraling stairs. It was too on the nose, but she is drinking more wine and continuing to doubt her feelings for Clayton. The next morning, we see Gabby and Clayton waking up together. They are very happy, relaxing, and they both feel at ease. And when Clayton has to eventually leave, he again yells into the ether that he is falling in love and it feels so good. Gabby comes back to our reluctant sister wives, and it's not just Susie that is uncomfortable now, but Rachel starts to grow concerned when she sees that Gabby looks very happy. Well, it's finally Susie's chance at her fantasy suite date, and when she is getting ready, it looks more like she is going to war. Before this final fantasy suite date, we see Clayton tearful and confused about his feelings because he knows that since he is falling for all three women, he can't stand the thought of sending one of them home. And when it comes to Susie, Clayton admits that she was the first person he had developed feelings for. And when they see each other, even the weather knows this is going to be a treacherous ride. It's super windy to where Susie is practically bracing herself, but they eventually do greet each other, and Clayton informs Susie that they are going to spend the day rejuvenating together. They head to a fun place where they get to experience some hot springs together, but first they head into some trials. They get doused with cold mist, and then next they head into a sauna, and then they have to take a cold plunge right before they take a warm shower. It's a hot and cold juxtaposition, and it's the perfect metaphor for how Susie is feeling, and they end up kissing in the hot springs under a warm waterfall. So far, so good, at least on Clayton's end, and he is so excited because he can't wait to tell Susie that he is falling in love with her. Susie is dressed in a seaweed green sparkly dress, and she does see him as a future husband, but she needs to discuss something with him first. We, as the audience, knows what's up, but Clayton first tells Susie that he was falling for her when she brought him to the top of the clock tower back in Croatia, and then he finally tells Susie that he is falling in love with her. Alright, take that shot of sour because Susie is about to throw a wrench in the entire system. She then tells Clayton that she is happy that he told her that, but there are some things before an engagement that she cannot compromise on. She then questions him on if he has had sex with anyone else here, and if he has, she feels like she cannot continue in her relationship with him. Clayton is taken aback and a little confused, since to him this seems kind of out of left field, But Susie is serious. She feels like if he was intimate with someone else, then she cannot continue in her relationship with him. And then Clayton tells her the truth, saying, yes, I've been intimate with both Gabby and Rachel, and tells Susie that he has also told them that he loves them too. And Susie is shook, but her gut has been telling her this was most likely what was going to happen. Then Susie says that she thought what they had was very special and that if he wanted her in the end, she would have hoped he would have protected her from all of this. And then Clayton is starting to realize that Susie is slipping through his fingers as he starts to fight for her to stay and try to work it out, despite knowing that this was an apparent ultimatum for her. He says he is the most in love with Susie, and Susie feels sad because she does love him, but she doesn't think she can look past this. And Clayton asks for her forgiveness, but she doesn't think she can move forward knowing all of this information. And then all shit hits the fan. Susie is crying. Clayton is upset, walking away, saying to cameras that this is what he was afraid of. Clayton is pretty heated, and someone obviously said, oh shit, we don't want a Colton Finch jump again, so go grab Jesse. Jesse Palmer shows up and tries to make some sense of what is happening, and then all of a sudden Susie walks over and wants to talk some more to Clayton, and then Clayton starts to question Susie about why she waited to tell him about her expectations when it came to fantasy suites, and Susie justifies her actions, and Clayton justifies his, and then Clayton, despite loving Susie, tells her that they are done. He walks her out and the tension is thick as Susie tries to tell him that her feelings were genuine with him, but Clayton has nothing more to say to her, and holy shit, that was intense, as it most likely will be featured as one of the top 10 breakups in this franchise. But as the episode ends, Clayton is enraged and says again that this was his biggest fear and that his heart is done and that his journey is over. Well, alright, that was quite an episode, and finally the season, as teased in so many promos, completely blows up, and it seems like Clayton might end up alone at the end of his journey. But with Susie now eliminated, Clayton still has to tell Rachel and Gabby what just happened, and seeing the preview for next week, it seems like the chaos is just beginning. Thank you for watching Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelor Season 26, Episode 10, The Fantasy Suites. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Whitney Alex Works for more videos in the future. See you next week for the 2-part finale of Clayton's journey of being The Bachelor, where we have no idea how this will all end. So stay tuned.